Hey, my name is Yolanda, and welcome to Frank Factualities, the podcast. Tune in each week as I speak frankly about life experiences from my perspective and offer you a bit of unsolicited advice. Let's take a little time to laugh, to think, and to cry as we tackle some serious topics and some not so serious topics. Be sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Hey, welcome to Frank Factualities, the podcast. My name is Yolanda. Thank you for tuning into my show this week and joining me for this episode. Y'all, I done went through a lot in these last couple days. I was on a conference for my job and it was in Charleston, so I'm not unfamiliar with Charleston. I go to Charleston quite often. If you live where I live, it's two places you go to for your shopping and dining experience and concerts and whatever. Well, three. You go to either Columbia, South Carolina, you go to Charleston, South Carolina, or you go to Charlotte. Those are usually the three places. And if we're feeling froggy and we want to go to a beach, it's still Charleston for Isle of Palms or Dirty Myrtle, aka Myrtle Beach. So these are places, if you live where I live, you go to quite often. You're not a stranger. So this conference was a South Carolina conference. And so it's always in a place in South Carolina. Typically it's in Greenville, South Carolina. But this year, the conference was in Charleston. So we went Sunday and I just came back today, actually. Earlier today, I arrived and I can't say I had a good time. It was good to relax and be in your own space, but I get triggered really easy by layered noise. And when I say triggered, I mean, I should have said overstimulated, because that's what happens. You're in a hotel where it's an older embassy. So, of course, you can hear all the noise from people that are downstairs at the lounge kind of open area where everyone is. That's where the bar is. That's where they have breakfast. But it is a suite. And so you have the living room area and the bedroom there. So I got to close that door just to kind of block some of the noise out. But throughout the conference all day, it's just people, people, people. So it was good to kind of decompress. It's kind of like being at a school all day. Technically, it's still the same thing for me, where it's just kids and noise and noise and noise. And you don't really get a piece of like quiet until you kind of wind down. That was good. And that I was able to get the peace, and I wasn't home. I got a little woosah from the house. You know what I'm saying? My own little peaceful time. That was really good. Even though I didn't really do much, I binged out and watched The Polygamist. I know I posted on my social media, my personal page, that if you haven't seen The Polygamist on Netflix, you need to see it. It is a really good series. It's a TV show. It has 22 episodes, which I thought was really extreme, but I am glad that it was 22 episodes. I couldn't do it in a day, but I was able to watch it over a couple of days, and I didn't expect it. Typically, when I watch those type of shows, I can kind of already predict what's going to happen next. But in this case, I really could not predict what was going to happen next with that situation. If you have not seen it, that is my recommendation, is that you watch that. And I get it. You may be like, I don't want to watch that because it's going to trigger me. It's a lifestyle. It's not your life, and it's entertainment. And it was just full of unexpected drama and things that I did not see coming. But it will evoke emotion. You know, you're going to hate people and that sort of thing. But really good. Check it out. Anyway, It was good. My break was good, but my daughter called me, and my granddaughter has been going through her little rebellious stage. And I didn't expect it to happen this early. She's only 11, and we all know that kids go through teenage moments where they're just teenagers and they're angry all the time. They are rebellious. They do things when they go through puberty, and all their emotions are everywhere. But she's starting to push the limits and the buttons now. But I just want to say to parents that are out there, it's like Forrest Gump said, having children is like a box of chocolates, because you never know what you're going to get. It's not really life. Kids are the same way, in that you don't know that just because you may feel like you have a mild temperament and you didn't get in any trouble, and that you set rules for your kids, that somehow they're just going to be respectful and do what it is that you want to do. You can provide the best life for a child, and somehow they'll give you a bucket of milk and they'll kick it right over. So she's upset that my granddaughter is really not listening and kind of being rebellious. I can't say that we contributed to her behavior in a good or bad way, we as in the grandparents, but I can say grandparents will be grandparents, and sometimes we don't necessarily support the parents in some of the things that they want to do, because we feel as though well, you put her on punishment, or that's the rules in your house and it's not necessarily the rules in my house. But I can't reward bad behavior. I can't say that her mom has her own punishment and she's doing these things, and then when she comes to my house she gets to do what she wants to do. I have to be on the same page with my daughter so that she can understand that you don't get to do what you want to do, and if your mother has set rules, then you don't get to come over here and avoid those rules or consequences. And so it's going to be hard for me, because as a grandparent, you kind of get the freedom to just be like, okay, well, I don't have to go through the stress of being the bad guy. But I think that if sometimes you don't nip things in the bud and you don't get the handle on a thing, the thing can get out of hand. I got a hard decision to make, and I've already had the hard conversation with my grandbaby. And hopefully my daughter continues to have it. And it is a struggle. And she's right. She was a good child in that I really didn't have to discipline her much. My son also, they have the same temperament, even though, they have different fathers. But I guess that came from me, in that they're kind, almost shy individuals, a little introverty, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't bother anybody, can be and do by themselves and not feel like the need to need anyone. And my granddaughter's the total opposite. I used to say she was me, but I was never at that age. I don't think that bad, but you got to ask my mom. And when you do ask her, she says Elle reminds her of me. So maybe I was that way. But I also was open to listen, especially to people that cared about me. I felt like I rebelled a lot when I was in the house because I didn't feel loved, appreciated, or cared for. That is not the same with my granddaughter, okay? Trust me, she is overloved and appreciated, but something just ain't clicking. And so it's time for some intervention. And hopefully before she hits middle school, because middle schoolers can be very mean. And middle school is rough for everybody, that she learns some valuable lessons and get some things from her grandparents. So anyway, that's my life update. Enough of that. I don't have any street talk because I've been out of the streets for a little while. I was isolated in my little conference bubble, back and forth from a conference center to my hotel, and just kind of living my best life. And I didn't really have a lot of time for social media. I went to the conference. I then hung out with the people who I went to the conference with till about 9-10 o'clock. I went back. I may have watched an episode or two of my show or scrolled for a second, literally. And I saw updates from friends and not what's going on in the world. And then I called my family to check in and discuss my day. And I just was oblivious to, I want to say, the world. Now, there were things going on in my community. And that's what I really want to talk about today, is the court of public opinion. Now, I understand that news titles or articles and headlines can trigger an emotion out of us. And a lot of times, no, all the time, we don't typically read the whole thing. We see a headline, we see something that triggers us, and we automatically respond to it. And I want us to be better and to do better. I think that if I were to write a headline and I say that a woman was caught stealing in the store and she had her kids with her and she ran off and left the kids in the store, automatically you're going to be like, she a shitty mother. Why was she had her kids in the store? Why was the kid stealing for her? Blah, 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 blah. The article may have said the lady had gotten evicted. She was homeless. She was in the store stealing so that she could feed the kids. And the police came and she told the police, I can't take care of them. Please take them for me, and ran off. So yes, she was stealing. She got caught, but she wanted better for her kids. She had the discussion and she said, please provide a place for my kids to stay. You wouldn't know all of those details if you didn't click on the article and read it. And I feel like that's what we do. It's bad, man. And I got to stop letting these things trigger me, because I may have an insight, or I may have done my due diligence to read the whole article. And the part of me wants to say, that's not what it said. If you read the article, it'll say XYZ. But I shouldn't have to tell a person that. You never read the title of a book or the first page of the book and assume that you can write a book report on it because you know everything that happened in the book. But yet we do this about situations in people's lives. And lately, it's been about political matters. And even though this political matter I'm speaking of is a local political matter, We have county council meetings. We have city council meetings. We have school board meetings where this information is public. And just to use where I work as an example, when the vote was put out for the schools to ban cell phones, this was made by the State Department of Education. That thing had been in the news for a while that the State Department was thinking about doing that. The minute and you could have voted on it, you could have talked to your local representatives and your state representatives, and all of these things could have been addressed. You could have boycotted. You could have gone to the state house. No parent did anything. They didn't even say anything about it. The minute that the districts had to implement it, not that they wanted to, again, it's a state law. They had to implement a no cell phone policy in the schools. Immediately, the parents were livid. Oh, I don't like the rule. How could you guys do that? I'm going to the board, the school board, that is. Not even knowing that this wasn't a school board issue. Even when the superintendent said of all the districts around our state, hey, this isn't our policy, it's the State Department's policy. No one wanted to hear it, or no one understood it, because they did not take the time to read the legislation. And I don't know what that is about. If it's anything public, all information is public knowledge. You can't have something happening in your city or your county and they not make the people aware of it. Now, are there going to be shady deals and backdoor things? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean that you can't go to a meeting and voice your opinion. I remember I live by a bar. It's a private bar. And I moved here knowing that there was a bar there. Let's just be clear. However, I'm from the area. What I knew was that it was a private bar, and it was typically bikers, middle-aged white bikers. And it never had been any issues at this bar. It's just, we knew it exists. We didn't fool with it. It just is what it is. So I knew that there was never any rah-rah, like people outside arguing, fighting, guns, and that sort of thing. That was never the case with this bar. But once, I probably was here for about 2 or 3 years, I'm going to say. I lived here before any incident. And then about 3 years in living here, I noticed that they started having parties for a younger black crowd. And when that happened, it started to look like a bunch of cars parked on either side of the street. Now, mind you, I live on a very small street. It's not really a neighborhood. It's just like, okay, a house just happens to be here, a couple of houses, right? They would block the street that only one car could go through. And I'm talking about a tight. When parking on the side of the street meant me being in someone's yard. And people would even be bold enough to actually park in my yard. And we would have to be up all time of night telling people, please don't park here. People would knock on our doors saying somebody was out to get them. We would find shoes and purses and condoms and beer cans and beer bottles in our yard the next day. All of this was going on. People would be outside arguing. But the most serious thing is we would always hear gunshots. People would be shooting. And I mean, I would have to literally fall out of my bed. And I'm not exaggerating, because my husband died laughing one night. The gunshots woke me out of my sleep, and I literally just fell for cover because the gunshots were so loud. It sounded like they were next to my window. Now, when I say I live by a bar, I mean the side of my house is their backyard, like their parking lot where they park is the back of the club. And this is where the people are. You've heard of parking lot pimping, literally. And I don't mind if you're going to be inside of a club, but if you've ever partied before, you know that the drama happens outside the club. There's always somebody in the parking lot waiting for somebody to come out to start an argument with, or that's usually where the shooting happens, because most time the bars and the clubs have security. So they're searching people before they get in the club. And so you really don't have anybody acting up. But in this particular case, this is where the drama was happening. So it had gotten so bad. My husband was like, listen, I am going to the county council meeting because we live in the county, and I'm going to voice my opinion. He did such a good job voicing his opinion and concerns. He dressed appropriately, wore a button-down shirt, right? He had his khakis on, and they always give the public an opportunity to speak on whatever their grievances are. So he got up and he talked about the club, and he had accounts of how many times we had to call the sheriff department on the club because of all the shooting. And so he had an account of it, how many times, and he told them it is mathematically a fact, and he gave some stats that someone's going to die at that club if nothing is done about it. I mean, the next weekend after my husband went to that meeting, it was a young man that got killed out there. Innocent bystander. Yes, he was at the club. They were shooting outside and he got caught by one of the bullets. And we had to wake up, take our son to school that day with the blanket over the body. Because it's the side of my house, that's where my carport is. So it sits up high and I can see over our privacy fence into the parking lot of the club. Trees have overgrown now on their side, so you really can't see the parking lot like we used to when we were here that early on, but you could see the body. So my son had to see that, but we told them like, hey, something has to be done or else it's going to be a problem. Now, people had already like fought out there and got seriously injured, but never killed. And when that boy died, then of course the news people came out to interview my husband and the neighbor at the time. And they brought up the county meeting and was like, you had just been there. You had discussed what was going on. And then now this happened. What have you guys been dealing with? So my husband was on the news discussing it. But what happened from that particular meeting and exactly because people, I don't want to say get shot every day, but you know that there have been plenty club shootings and that doesn't necessarily shut down a club or stop the shooting. And the bar's still there. It didn't close it. But what happened was the ordinance that the city already had was that bars had to be closed at 2 a.m. got extended to the county. And even though they were riding on that we are a private bar, so they had in the past been able to open up later because this club was going on 4 or 5 in the morning. Sometimes those people didn't leave until 6. We got the ordinance where the people had to leave at 2 because what we noticed was when the people were partying, it wasn't the party. That bar had become the after party for the party. So the other clubs were closing at 2 and people were coming to this bar after the club had closed. So they weren't getting riled up until 2 in the morning. And then they were staying there to 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. So we on the weekends would get no sleep. So it got the ordinance so that the bar had to close at 2 a.m. But none of that would have happened if we had just gone to social media and took it up with the court of public opinion. Y'all, this club getting on our nerves. I'm sick of that. How can they do that? We need to. Yes, it would have gotten engagement. Yes, we would have gotten more followers. Yes, we would have gotten a lot of comments. But if you really looking to evoke change somewhere, you got to get off social media and you got to take action. And I'm not saying that social media doesn't get the needle moving, but most people don't have that type of following to get the needle moving. You understand what I'm saying? Some things go viral and they evoke some sort of change. You know, when people are calling out Karens and they want people to get fired, sometimes those things circulate and they get it. But when we're talking about policy and when we're talking about things that are going on in your local community, a lot of these people, no shade, are older people that are on these boards. It is older people that are the ones that are going. All we do is read a news. And I know when I'm saying that people read news, just reading the headlines of a newspaper article, I am not exaggerating because that newspaper article, if you want to read it, you have to subscribe. And I already know these people are not subscribing to a newspaper to read it online. Now, the older people I know still get the newspaper and still reading. These people that are the ones that are commenting are not doing it. And I just wish we did our research. I don't mind having a healthy debate with someone or people going online to debate an issue. But if you don't have all the facts and you're literally going off of the headline, it is the dumbest shit ever. But it's also the most annoying shit, especially when you're like, okay, this information is public information. Like you literally could just go listen to the last board meeting or a county council meeting and you could hear exactly what happened and why they decided to do what they did. And it's always a reason for it, but we tend to forget. And then we just want to rile the people up. You want to get the people mad. You wanted people to, because what are your intentions? What are your intentions posting online? What do you think is going to happen when you post online other than other people commenting? And I'm just not that curious. And I'm bad at it too, because, you know, I go hard for my place of employment. And I know that it gets a lot of bad press about a lot of things locally. And I used to just defend everything. I get online, I post it just to be like, y'all lying. That ain't true. Stop this, blah, 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 blah. But I've started to take a different approach and started. I haven't said I'm there yet. Now I'm trying. But my motive is just to put out more positive things or to put out the truth, not necessarily to debate or argue with anybody, but to make sure that the information is readily available or that you see it for yourself. Instead of just making a post to just be like, okay, I want to get the people riled up. I want to get the people to be like, ooh, you saw what she posted. But I want to inform the people because I just think we're misinformed, and you can't speak on something if you're not well versed on the topic. And I'm not saying you can't, because clearly people do it, but that's just ignorant to me for you to go out there and make make a statement about a thing that's happening, especially that affects everybody in your community, and you not know the facts, and you just really want to rile the people up. And the only time I feel like we go and complain about something is if it affects us personally. I mean, like, personally, you took something from me. Personally, I'm losing this. Then we'll go to that person, and we don't give a shit about social media. But when it ain't got nothing to do with us and holistically, we want to rile the people up. We want to make the people angry. And it does anger me. I'm working on myself. Especially in this day and age where misinformation is really out there. Like, literally, if you Google, is the sky black? AI will tell you yes, depending on how you ask the question. You can get proof of any lie you want to put out there on social media, and you can put that proof of the lie out there and people will believe it. And you know that it's a lie. The way you can distort images now, the way you word things, the words you use in things, there's so much just deception and misinformation. And frankly, the fact of the matter is we got to be smarter than that. Now, you more than any time, you got to investigate everything that you see, because you damn sure can't believe nothing you hear nowadays, and damn sure can't believe nothing you see. Everything is questionable. So do not take one thing and roll with it. What you do is, oh shit, I wonder if this is going on for real. Now you do your own research. You go check the website of the page. You then go check and see whether or not somebody else posted what happened to this, not just that one article, right? So much stuff I see people be like, oh, you see this? And I'm like, that's not true. And then now they go to the person page is like, oh, this not real. They didn't say that. No. So we can't stay ignorant. We just can't, especially not in the world of AI. I know we only used to seeing AI be used now in these flyer forms, and some of y'all use AI for your homework, for your book, for all kind of shit. But AI now you can use AI. Voice AI is not just video AI. And clearly, we know you can write and use it for written material. But AI is going to fuck some of us up. AI can get your house taken from you. AI can get you in trouble morally at your job. It literally can distort to say, okay, no, this is who Yolanda is. Yolanda said this. Yolanda did this. And here's the proof for it. And it really ain't proof. It's AI version, and people believe it. It's plenty AI videos out there, and you guys know it, because if you clip it like, why? This don't seem real. Well, I do. And then I go to the comments, and now you see this is AI, this is AI. And now that somebody pointed out that it's AI, I look at it again from a different lens. And then you're like, you know what? Yeah, because look over there. That thing doesn't look real. This looks distorted. And yeah, now I can see that it's AI. So don't just think that. And also, when people do headlines, y'all do realize that's marketing. Like, that's their intent. Their intent is distort the headlines to make you want to look at it. And then the paper that I'm talking about that put out the false information, well, it wasn't false. It was skewed, right? Then they put a poll. What would you like to do? Like, just so they can get engagement. So now you feeding these niggas. When I say that, I mean, they get paid off of the social media interactions, as most of us do who have a public account. You get paid for your engagement. So now that they see that this post that they made has garnered all of this attention and all of these comments and shares, well, why not monopolize on that? We're going to keep this going because we don't be getting that much engagement on our posts. So let's just keep this going because I see it gets the people going. It's provocative. And now you just keep feeding into it. And it's just disheartening that we're that easily influenced and that we don't care about voicing our opinions on other platforms or in other ways other than social media for engagement. We really are a hoe for the applause. Like, we really are. We as in society. If you ain't clapping and commenting and engaging with me, then I don't really care to make my point about a thing. I don't really care to talk about a thing if I'm not going to get nothing out of it. If it doesn't benefit me, then what am I saying something about it? Because no one knew that my husband went to county council, and social media was out this time. The only way the people knew was because the paper was there and they took a picture of him and put him in the paper and wrote an article about it. Like, hey, this guy came here. And then this was before the person got shot. And then the news people came to us to have a conversation about it. But ultimately, he wouldn't have never said anything to anybody. And we didn't post like, yeah, we're going to go to that county meeting and we're going to talk about that, because we really wanted to see a true change. And if you want to see a true change, you can't do that by just posting. What else are you going to do? And I'm not saying you can't post, but what else are you going to do? And what benefit do you have? I say this about this podcast, and I got to start applying it in my real life as well. If I'm going to talk about something in the streets and bring up a topic in street talk, then I need to be able to provide a different perspective. What am I bringing to the table about this topic? If all I'm going to do is say the same thing that everybody else is saying or engage in the same way, then why am I even talking about it? Because I'm not giving you a different insight or perspective on a thing. So if all you're doing is griping on social media about the thing, and you're not going to bring up something that makes the people go, or you have a different perspective or insight on a thing, if you're not doing that, then you a hoe for the applause. You really are. This just is what it is. I mean, I know it doesn't sound good. But yeah, the court of public opinion has to go. We've seen, and I even gave y'all my own opinion. And I know I have a podcast, and that's the whole purpose. I am my own court of, public opinion. I am who the people may go to be like, I wonder what she thinks about a thing. I get that. But we have to be a little bit more responsible now in the way that we communicate and the things that we say. And it needs to be that this is my own opinion. It needs to be like, you know what? I haven't done my research, and I'm okay with saying that. Like, look, now I ain't look it up. I haven't read everything on it. You have to be honest, because people will genuinely think that you are the source of the information or the thing that you say is true. And that's what's happening with our news channels. If you haven't noticed, we now think that whatever we see from the news has to be fact. But now we know that there's a difference between a general news station that's just giving you the news, just bare bones news, to a talk show on a news station. And I think we don't know the difference between that. And same thing with the newspaper. Sometimes they're reporting what is just going on. And then sometimes it's a news article that someone wrote to discuss what they saw or experienced. And that doesn't always have to be fact. And you got to be able to decipher the thing. You got to be able to know that this is a news talk show. Like Joy Reid, for example, when she had her talk show, that's the black lady with the low haircut, and they kicked her off of it. Her show was a talk show on a news station. Yes, she talked about the news, but she wasn't reporting just news, and that's all she did. She wasn't just a news anchor. She was a show host, just like The View, just like Jennifer Hudson's show. They had their own show. It just happened to be on a news station. And because they were pretty much hot topics, right? What's going on in the news, center stage, right? That was what their show was about, talking about the current events in the world. And they would give their opinion and have other people, panelists on there to talk about what they thought about what was going on in the world. And who's teaching the people this, right? But we're at a certain age. If you're my age, you know you got to read now. When you got your assignment in school, they told you read the instructions from the top to the bottom and don't just start answering. But we've reverted back with the social media that we just don't read nothing except for the headline, and whatever it say, we gonna go with it, and whatever we see, we believe it. You know how many times they done killed off a bunch of celebrities, and we be buying into and sharing the thing, passing it along, only for somebody to be like, y'all, he not dead. Like, stop. People, let me tell you how much people don't read. One of my Facebook friends had posted, you know how your history will come up and it'll say then, like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and it will be like back then, or just says then. And then they're requesting that you pick another picture side by side to say now. So it's a then and now. So she posted 2 pictures of her and her son. I guess one popped up for then, and then she posted an update and was like, oh yeah, my firstborn, you were the one that got me. You were the first one that made me a mother. You were my heart, my blah, 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 blah. Don't you know, underneath the comments, people kept saying, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. Now, she never said it was his birthday. She never implied it. It never said it. Even in the comments, she said, hey, thank you. no, she said, hey, it's not his birthday. It's not his birthday. And people still were saying happy birthday. And then one girl said, oh, I didn't even read it. I was just going along with what everybody else put. Now, mind you, she just got a pop-up memory of a picture and decided to share the update of her and her son, and just decided to be like, oh my God, look at my sweet baby. This is my firstborn, and share some words of love. And everybody just assumed it was your birthday, or it was the boy birthday. At the end of the day, that just goes to show how we ain't paying attention to nothing. And we wonder why shit just go right in front of our eyes. And then we wake up one day and it's like, how did I get in this situation? How did the world become this? It's because we not paying attention. So we better wake up, and you guys better start reading. You better start doing your investigation and stop running your mouth until you know. You get what I'm saying? Especially if you're going to post it and influence people who aren't as smart as you. Because we got to stop thinking that too, that people got discernment themselves and they can process things and figure out like they'll know I'm just playing. How the hell they know you just playing if you don't say I'm just playing? How the hell they know that this isn't truth if you don't say, hey, this ain't the truth? How do they know it's like, okay, I don't really know if this is true or not, but y'all see this? You got to say that. You have to be very specific, especially if people are following you for information. So I'm going to do my due diligence to be better at it. And I hope that I convey when it is my opinion that it is my opinion. And I hope I convey like, y'all, I read it, I researched it, I did this. And that's what I will do, especially if it's something that I know affects you all and the world as a whole. So I'll do better if you do better. Right. So until next time, y'all, I'll holla. Bye.